When I walked into my own dining room at 7:30 on a Thursday evening, my son, my daughter-in-law, my younger sister, and my 83-year-old mother were all sitting around the table with papers spread everywhere. My son looked up first, and I will never forget the expression on his face. Not guilt, not surprise, annoyance. "Mom," he said, "we need to talk." I had just driven 3 hours from the medical conference in Sacramento, and I was exhausted. I had been a cardiologist for 37 years before I retired at 60, and even now, 2 years later, they still invited me to speak at conferences. I was proud of that. I had built a good reputation. I had built a good life. But standing there in my own home, looking at the 4 people I loved most in this world, I felt something shift inside my chest. Something cold. "What's going on?" I asked. "Is someone sick? Is everyone okay?" My mother wouldn't meet my eyes. My sister, Diane, just stared at her hands. My daughter-in-law, Melissa, had this strange little smile, like she was trying not to laugh. "Sit down, Margaret," my son said. "His name is David, and I had raised him alone after his father died when David was 12. I worked double shifts at the hospital so he could go to Stanford. I paid off his student loans when he graduated. I gave him the down payment for his first house. I'd rather stand," I said. David sighed like I was being difficult. "Fine, Mom, we've been talking, and we all agree that it's time for some changes. You're 62 now. You're forgetting things. You left the stove on last month. You missed your dentist appointment twice." I stared at him. "I left the stove on once because I was on a call with a patient who was having a panic attack about her heart medication. And I rescheduled the dentist because I was asked to consult on a case at the hospital. They still call me David. I'm not incompetent." "No one's saying you're incompetent," Melissa cut in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "We're just concerned. We love you." I looked at the papers on the table. Even from where I stood, I could see the letterhead. Legal documents. My heart started pounding the way it used to, before a difficult surgery. "What are those papers?" "It's just a power of attorney," Diane said quickly. Too quickly. "And some other documents to help manage your assets. You have so much to keep track of, Maggie. The rental properties, the patents from your medical devices, the investment accounts. It's a lot for one person." I had 5 rental properties in the Bay Area. I had developed 3 cardiac monitoring devices that were now used in hospitals nationwide, and the patent royalties brought in about $200,000 a year. I had been careful with money my entire life. I had investments, savings, a paid-off house. I also had a photographic memory and a mind that was still sharper than most people half my age. "I manage everything just fine," I said. "Mom," David stood up, "you're not managing fine. Last week, you called me 3 times to ask the same question about your phone. That was a lie. I had called him once to ask how to use a new feature. Once. But he was saying it like it was true, like it was a fact, and my mother was nodding along. "Margaret, honey," my mother said softly, "we're only trying to help. You've worked so hard your whole life. You deserve to rest. Let David handle things for a while. Let David handle things." David, who had quit 2 jobs in the past 5 years. David, whose mortgage I was still helping with. David, whose wife drove a Tesla that I knew they couldn't afford. "I don't need help," I said. "I need all of you to leave my house." The room went silent. Then Melissa laughed. Actually laughed. "Margaret," she said, and I hated the way she said my name, like she was talking to a child. "That's exactly the kind of reaction that worries us. You're being paranoid. You're being irrational. These are warning signs." "Warning signs of what?" "Early dementia," Diane said quietly. "We've been documenting it. The forgetfulness, the mood swings, the paranoia. The floor seemed to tilt under my feet. "You've been documenting me? For your own good," my mother said. She finally looked at me, and her eyes were wet. "I don't want to do this, Margaret, but you're my daughter, and I can't watch you deteriorate without trying to help." I looked at each of them. My son, who wouldn't meet my eyes. My daughter-in-law, who was still smiling. My sister, who was 4 years younger than me and had always been jealous that I was the successful one. My mother, who had always favored Diane, the pretty one, the social one, the one who got married young and had 3 kids and did everything the way our mother thought women should. I had been the disappointment. The one who chose career over family, the one who didn't remarry after becoming a widow, the one who was too busy saving lives to bake cookies for school events. "Get out," I said quietly. "Mom, get out of my house. All of you. Now." I walked out of the dining room, went upstairs to my bedroom, and locked the door. I could hear them talking downstairs. I could hear Melissa's voice, loud and clear. "See? She's getting worse. We need to move quickly." I sat on my bed and I did not cry. I had not cried since my husband died 25 years ago. I had not cried through medical school, through residency, through the lawsuit when a patient's family blamed me for a death that wasn't my fault. I had not cried when David got arrested for a DUI at 19, or when my mother told me I was selfish for not visiting enough. I did not cry now. Instead, I opened my laptop. I opened the folder I had created 3 months ago, the one I had titled Property Records, but that actually contained something much more important. 3 months ago, I had noticed that someone had tried to access my bank accounts from an IP address in San Jose. That was where David and Melissa lived. I had immediately changed all my passwords and set up alerts. Then I had started paying attention. I noticed that Diane had asked me, casually, over coffee, whether I had updated my will recently. I noticed that Melissa had started calling me more often, asking about my health, suggesting I see a neurologist just to be safe. I noticed that my mother, during Sunday dinner, had mentioned that her friend's daughter had put her mother in a lovely assisted living facility. I was a doctor. I knew what I was seeing, so I had started documenting too. I had installed cameras in my house. Small ones, legal ones, in common areas. California is a 2-party consent state for recordings, but there are exceptions for your own home when you suspect criminal activity. I had researched the law carefully. I had recorded every conversation. I had saved every text message. I had copies of every time Melissa had accessed my laptop when she thought I was sleeping. I had screenshots of David's search history on my home computer, how to get power of attorney for elderly parent, signs of dementia in women, how to prove someone is incompetent. I had also done something else, something none of them knew about. 6 weeks ago, I had moved most of my liquid assets into a trust. An irrevocable trust with an independent trustee, a lawyer I had worked with for years. The rental properties were already in an LLC. The patents were assigned to a corporation I had set up when I first retired. On paper, I had about $50,000 in accessible accounts. Everything else was protected. I had also updated my will. Everything would go to charity. The American Heart Association, medical research, scholarships for low-income students pursuing medicine. Not $1 for David, for Melissa, for Diane, or for my mother who had just sat at my table and talked about having me declared incompetent. The next morning, I woke up to 87 missed calls. Most were from David, some were from Melissa, a few from Diane, 2 from my mother. I blocked all their numbers. Then I called my lawyer. "Margaret," he said when he answered. "I was hoping you'd call. I got some interesting documents served to me yesterday. Your family is trying to petition for conservatorship." I had expected it, but hearing it still felt like a punch to the chest. "On what grounds?" "They have statements from 3 people saying you're showing signs of cognitive decline. They have a letter from a Dr. Richard Paulson saying he evaluated you and recommends a full psychiatric assessment." I've never met a Dr. Richard Paulson. I know. I already looked him up. He's a psychiatrist in San Jose. He's also Melissa's uncle. Of course he was. "What do we do?" I asked. "We fight. And Margaret, based on what you've sent me over the past 3 months, we're going to win." The hearing was set for 3 weeks later. In those 3 weeks, I did not speak to my family. I did not answer their calls. I did not open the door when David showed up at my house. I just kept living my life, going to the gym, having lunch with friends, consulting on medical cases, giving a lecture at UCSF. I also met with a private investigator my lawyer recommended. Within a week, he had found some very interesting information. David and Melissa had taken out a second mortgage on their house 6 months ago. They were $60,000 in credit card debt. Melissa's boutique, the one I had given her $50,000 to start, was failing. They needed money, a lot of it. Diane was in even worse shape. Her husband had left her for someone younger, and in the divorce, she had gotten the house but not much else. She had 3 kids in college and no job. She had been borrowing money from our mother for months. And our mother? She had been donating large sums to Diane, money she didn't really have. She was running out of savings. They weren't worried about my health, they were worried about their bank accounts. The day of the hearing, I wore a navy suit and my pearls. I had my medical records, my financial records, everything organized in labeled folders. My lawyer had prepared a presentation with video evidence, documentation of the attempted financial access, proof that Dr. Paulson's evaluation was fabricated. I also had something they didn't expect. I had 3 doctors who had worked with me recently, all willing to testify that I was sharp, competent, and showed no signs of cognitive decline. I had my investment advisor, my accountant, my property manager, all ready to confirm that I managed my affairs perfectly well. But the most important thing I had was the recordings. Every conversation where they discussed how to get control of my money, every moment of their planning, every lie they had told. When the judge asked if I wanted to present evidence, I stood up. "Your Honor," I said, "I'd like to show you something." I played the video from my dining room, the one where Melissa said, "We need to move quickly," the one where David talked about getting access to the accounts before she changes everything, the one where Diane said, "Once we have power of attorney, we can liquidate the properties," the one where my own mother said, "She's always been stubborn. We'll have to force this." I watched their faces as the video played. David went pale. Melissa started crying. Diane just stared at the table. My mother closed her eyes. When it was over, the judge took off his glasses. "Mrs. Chen," he said, "I'm dismissing this petition. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney's office for investigation of attempted fraud and elder abuse." I had thought that would be the end of it. But there was more. 2 weeks later, David and Melissa were arrested. Attempted financial exploitation of an elder, conspiracy to commit fraud. The DA was very interested in the fake psychiatric evaluation, especially when Dr. Paulson admitted, under pressure, that he had never examined me. He lost his medical license. Diane was charged as an accomplice. My mother, because of her age and because she had been manipulated by Diane, was not charged, but I never spoke to her again. The media picked up the story. Retired cardiologist fights off family's attempt to steal millions. I did 3 interviews, all focused on raising awareness about elder financial abuse. The story went viral. David called me from jail. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Mom, I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. Melissa was the one who pushed for everything. Please, Mom. I'm your son." I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. Melissa sent me a letter. She said she was pregnant. She said my grandchild deserved to know me. She said I was destroying our family over money. I sent the letter to my lawyer. She was not pregnant. The private investigator confirmed it. It was another manipulation. My mother called from Diane's house. Diane had lost her house to foreclosure and had moved in with Mom. "Margaret," my mother said, her voice shaking, "I'm 83 years old. I don't have much time left. Do you really want me to die knowing you hate me?" "I don't hate you," I said, "but I don't trust you, and I don't forgive you. You chose money over your daughter. You chose Diane over me. You made your choice." I hung up. It was the last time we spoke. Now, 6 months later, I'm sitting in my garden, drinking tea. I have a new routine. I swim every morning. I volunteer at a free clinic twice a week. I mentor young female doctors. I travel. Last month I went to Italy. Next month I'm going to Japan. I also started a foundation, the Margaret Chen Foundation for Elder Rights. We provide legal help for seniors facing financial abuse from family members. We've already helped 12 people fight back against their own children, their own siblings, people who saw them as ATMs instead of human beings. I sleep well at night, better than I have in years. People ask me if I'm lonely. They ask if I miss my family. They look at me with pity. This 62-year-old woman with no children at her birthday dinners, no grandchildren visiting on holidays. I'm not lonely. I have friends who actually care about me. I have colleagues who respect me. I have a life that I built with my own hands, and no one can take that from me now. David got 2 years. He'll be out in 14 months with good behavior. Melissa got 18 months.